So this is a very informal, as you can sense, introduction to objects and constructors so far. So if I wanted to have a boxcar constructor as well, right, I could say constructors. I like to add those little sections to my code. You'll see later, as our classes become more complex, having those little comments identifying particular parts of class kind of helps to interpret it, especially if you don't use it for a while, then reopen the source file, look at it again. It kind of helps you to get better organized, I guess. So to create a constructor for this class, I must use the boxcar constructor syntax, which must correspond directly to the name of the class, right? And perhaps I can use two integers. As parameters, something like that, just to demonstrate. And use two of these, one variable and another variable, car weight, to store the initial values. So now recall, as soon as I add a constructor to my class, the default constructor that I'm trying to use in my main method is gone, is taken away. So I should no longer be able to do this. But that's okay. I can say, all right, so maybe a cargo weight could be, well, I don't know, 62 tons, and the weight of the car itself could be, I don't know, 50 tons, something like that. And, you know, it'd be helpful to know what the units of measurements are, but you get the idea. For me, these are just integers and presumably metric tons or something like that. So anyway, so we have that, and so this demonstrates how easy it is to provide a constructor, and how useful it also is, because immediately you can provide the initial values which put our class in a usable and known state, because all the variables are being initialized properly. All right, so I'm still debugging, by the way, so I'm just going to say I finished the debugging session, and as now I no longer need this breakpoint, I prefer to remove breakpoints from my program, because I don't like this you know, colorful lines and everything. That's just overwhelming. I'll just say toggle line breakpoint, and that's it. So now I can save everything. And so let's take a look at the presentation. So object creation and method calls. Let's let's go to our application and create another section which says operations. To create an operation such as calculate max weight, right? We could create a method. Now, this no longer is going to be a static method. This is going to be a method specific to each object created from this class. And so it's going to return an integer value. It's going to be a public method, so it is accessible inside of our class. And we're going to say simply a return we're going to say return the max weight plus the car weight, something like that, just for the sake of demonstration. All right. So just adding those two together and returning, and that's just again for the sake of demonstration. So now if I wanted to say integer weight, here I could ask my car to tell me what is this maximum weight that you have, right? So I can, this is an example of a method call, right? This is an example of a method call, and this is an example of a method. Right? So we have a method which is now defined, takes no parameters, does some computation, and returns an integer value back to the caller. So the caller makes a call, and the value is returned back. And I can store it in my local variable and further start using it, whatever I need that variable for. But notice this, that we use an object reference to make a call, because this is not just any kind of method call, but it's a method call which is available on our class named Boxcar. So by defining this method inside of our class, we now must use this particular object to make that call. Now, this is nothing new. We've seen scanner.next, scanner.next double, scanner.has int. These are all examples of method calls, and this is exactly how those methods are defined inside the class. So now we're beginning to turn the page, and we're beginning to explore this possibility of designing our software using classes. And then, of course, the three major things that we're going to focus on initially is the data attributes. I typically do not add this comment, but here I will do it. Data attributes, right? Constructors and operations, methods or operations. So I like the word operations because they don't call them methods in C++. In C++, methods are called member functions. So by using comment operations, it's consistent across, other programming languages, because all operations are, after all, methods or functions that are packaged as those methods in our example. So anyway, this is all very informal introduction to all of this, right? But these are the three major components. By good advice design, all data should be kept private, and all, by the way, this should probably be also named public. We'll explain access modifiers later on. But typically, the public methods that are accessible, including constructors. Constructor is also kind of a method. Should be public so that they become available outside of this class. In the future, we'll talk about private methods as well on our classes. And finally, today we have a few more minutes. Let's see. Let's save this.